All right, immediate reaction to the Open Division CIF Championship of San Diego, Carlsbad, Lincoln. I was at the game. First off, I can kind of give a little bit more detail because this is the only game I'm covering and I'm going to talk about it. So I'll kind of give the whole scoop of the whole experience just for viewership, and hopefully they do better next time. Not only was the game anticipated because it was the best two teams in San Diego, but it was anticipated because the game was being held at Snapdragon Stadium, which is where the San Diego State Aztecs play their home games, as well as I believe the San Diego Wave women's professional soccer team down here. They play their games there too, but this is a brand new stadium. It's really nice, very well constructed. I've lived here my whole life, so seeing the stadium come from Jack Murphy, where the Padres used to play, to Qualcomm, where the Chargers used to play, and they tore it down for a long time, and now this stadium was erected is pretty cool. The parking was it was a big parking lot, and everything's just super, just nice, laid out, organized. 10 out of 10 when it comes to the stadium experience. When it comes to the crowd and how they had everybody sit with their tickets and the seats, I'll give that a 1 out of 10. There wasn't enough seats for everybody. Everybody had to stand, and everybody was sitting in kind of a makeshift positions. You know, Lincoln had one side and then Carlsbad had the other, and we were given assigned seats for the tickets. But a lot of people were just walking around, a lot of people were standing. It was just unorganized in my opinion how that worked. They could have definitely opened up the second deck. They just had everyone sit on one side, and there just wasn't enough seats for everyone, so that was kind of a mess. A lot of people were kind of questioning that, so that was something that they could have done better. But anyway, towards the game, let's talk about the actual game, football game, if you stay this long, hopefully. So Carlsbad came out the gates with great ball control from what I saw. I saw a lot of really good drives that took a lot of time off the clock. I don't really know who won it at the end in terms of time of possession, but for the most part it looked like Carlsbad was controlling the ball for the majority of the time, which was ideal because Lincoln was known for their fast tempo, very potent offense. So they kept them off the field. They kept Lincoln's offense off the field, which was their goal. I was really excited to see Julian Sayin in person, him throw. I knew going into the game that Lincoln's defensive line and their front seven would just dominate Carlsbad. At the beginning of the game, like I said, the play calling and the flow and the tempo of Carlsbad's offense was really, really good, and it kept Lincoln's defense in check, meaning they weren't getting a lot of sacks. They weren't getting too much pressure at the beginning, and Carlsbad was able to run the ball effectively. And they just had control of the game the whole time. I believe halftime it was 21-6. I know Carlsbad hit early. They came up 7-0. Lincoln came back and scored, and then in the second quarter, Carlsbad scored one long touchdown run by the running back, and I believe a pick six by number 4, the receiver, cornerback type of guy, and they got up 21-6 at halftime, I believe. It was either that or Lincoln had a late score, and it ended up being 21-12 or 21-13, one of the two. But for the first half, it seemed like Carlsbad was in control the whole time. Second half comes around, they make some adjustments. It was the same thing. I felt like Carlsbad was able to control the ball running. Julian Sayin didn't really throw the ball that much. I only saw him throw maybe 2 deep balls. I've seen his deep ball highlights, and they're beautiful. He wasn't able to stretch the ball downfield. I think Lincoln's corners and their secondary was too good, able to keep up with Carlsbad's receivers. So he wasn't able to really showcase his arm. A lot of the passes were a lot of tunnel screens, which was, I don't know, it's just some of them worked, but some of them Lincoln was able to kind of pick them off and started to kind of understand the tendency of these screens that Carlsbad was doing. So really didn't get a chance to showcase Sain's arm. But at the same time, Carlsbad was able to run the ball effectively. Number 22, man, he was very impressive. I've seen him run against other teams. I didn't think he'd be this effective against Lincoln. He could have been the MVP in my opinion. He was really good. Shouts out to 22. I forgot his name. Mason something. I'm not sure. Just a dog. Running hard, running over these Lincoln kids. Those Lincoln kids are really, really tough kids too. Just running through them and was running hard, man. Props to him. I hope he either comes back next year or if he doesn't, if he's a senior, hopefully he can get a look at the next level, but he's a baller, man. At the end of the game for Carlsbad, they started to break down team-wise because Lincoln's offense was able to make a comeback. This all happened in the fourth quarter. Lincoln, for the most part, leading up for the first 3 quarters, were held in check because Roderick Robinson was running with one leg, literally. I heard that he got injured and was hobbled in the playoff game against Madison, and they relied heavily on him against Madison because Madison's a really good team. So they just needed to win that game in order to get to this point. But I know they used Robinson a lot, and obviously his mileage is high because of how much he's done and ran and produced up to this point. So shouts out to Roderick Robinson, Georgia commit. But this is the end of the season. He's banged up bad, and it's so evident. And they kept trying to run with him because the passes weren't effective. No offense to the quarterback for Lincoln, number 3. He's just not a great passer. He's just not a great guy getting the ball downfield. He can get it there. He could spin it a little bit. But in terms of precision, timing, able to understand the defense, I don't think that he's that sharp. But I can't take anything away from him in that case because he made plays when it counted. They had about 2 60-plus yard passes in that fourth quarter to have him come back in the game. Shouts out to Lincoln's receivers for making the plays, breaking tackles, getting the ball in the end zone, because if those didn't happen, Lincoln would have lost easily. They didn't have their run game. They didn't have their best player able to kind of carry the team like he has been up to this point. And the quarterback, isn't the greatest passer. That makes it easier for Carlsbad's defense to just hone in on the run. They know that the run is coming and it's not as effective. They're able to defend the pass. But Lincoln is the advantage, the team that has the advantage because they have the better players all across the board, the more athletic, the faster players. And in turn, they make better plays. And what do you know? Lincoln's offense was able to make big plays down the stretch of the game. Quarterback was able to give him the ball in open space. The receiver is taking it 60 yards, and that's what happened, I believe, on 2 of those plays, maybe 3. Eventually got them to the lead. And once that happened, midway in the fourth quarter, it was 28-24. Carlsbad came into panic mode. Couldn't do anything. They just seemed like they were shell-shocked. They tried to throw the ball. Carlsbad's offensive line couldn't hold Lincoln's defensive line, and it was over from there. Saying as great as he was, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't find any receivers to make any plays because, again, Lincoln's receivers and secondaries are the same people, so they just have this athletic advantage of speed and agility over these Carlsbad skill players, and it just makes it that much harder for Sain to throw. I knew that coming in that Julian Sain would be struggling to be able to distribute the ball downfield just because his receivers would be smothered. I knew that. That's why I thought initially that Lincoln would win about 35-14 because I felt like Carlsbad's offense wouldn't be able to get anything going. And I thought that would put them in a position to where they'd have to play catch up the whole time. But Carlsbad caught a great game for 3 quarters. And then once stuff started hitting the fan and things started to break down, they panicked and they couldn't get back into it. They got away from the run, which I kind of get because you can't keep running the ball if you're down. You're going to burn your own fuse. But man, a lot of questionable calls for Lincoln in my opinion. I'm not going to say his name, but they didn't have a lot of good routes at the beginning. I'm not sure what they were doing. The running wasn't working. They don't have a backup running back. Like, man, shouts out to Lincoln's defense for keeping them in the game. Because if they didn't have that defense, who knows how much Julian Stanley would have gotten off. And that's not even taking into account how good number 22 for Carlsbad was doing, running the ball. Their offensive run game was doing so well. Like, it could have went a different direction if Lincoln's defense wasn't able to make stops. So shouts out to them. Full team effort for Lincoln on their side. Carlsbad lost that one. Like, Lincoln technically won 28-24, but Carlsbad squandered that opportunity big time. And they were the favorites. They were the home team. I believe they had everybody healthy. Everyone looked good. I mean, Zach Marshall was playing. I don't know. They could have gotten him the ball a little bit more. He was probably getting bracketed, being double teamed. I'm not sure, but man, Lincoln, they did it. They got it done all the way. But man, Carlsbad had this opportunity to, man, they should have won this game. They didn't. Lincoln got it. They deserve it. Lincoln made the bigger plays when it counted, and it ended up helping them get a W, man. Overall, great game, though. Congratulations to both teams and all players on both sides of the ball. They did a great job. Both teams were playing very hard. It was a clean game. There wasn't anything dirty. Just great football. So we'll see what happens in the state seedings. And, football is coming to a close, but it is not over. We got to wait till state. So I'm really excited to see. Congratulations to Lincoln as well. Lincoln Hornets, man. Beehive. They got it done, man, all the way.